Pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, joined by the panel. Good afternoon, Wheeler.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, Carlos and everybody. I just got off Beale Street. I just came back from a night on Beale Street, Carlos. I may not all be here. Good morning.
I know when I was in Memphis, it was ooh boy. The next day is when I came to. Coach Featherweight.
Yet, Carlos. I didn't come to yet.
Coach Featherweight, good morning.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You know, we're in Daytona, and so I hope everything goes well because it's so spotty on the internet.
Well, Coach Featherweight, I'm gonna get you to log out and log back in and see if it'll be a little bit better for you. If
I'm
you
sorry.
can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Well,
I can't.
It's the Boombox Classic for Southern University and Jackson State. All the uproar, all of the just smack been going on all week. Yours truly has not been smacking. He's not getting into that. He's just gonna wait and see what happens with this football game. But I'm gonna give you some information, kind of a game day information, the atmosphere from what I've been told. I'm not up there yet on campus, but it's packed. If it's not going to be a hard sellout, it was less than 2,000 tickets as of Friday morning. So if it's not a hard sellout, it'll come very, very close. A Jackson State football team, by all accounts, heavy favorite. Depends on who you talk to. It's kind of interesting to say heavy favorite because when you're in this type of classic, you know, some of those cliches come out, throw out the records. It is going to be a battle. They started last night with the battle of the bands. I heard Southern gave a good accounting of themselves. So it's the atmosphere that you talk about. Again, throw records out, Wheeler. Southern and Jackson State at 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus.
Always throw the records out when those two teams hook up. No doubt about that. And it should be very interesting. Should definitely be very interesting.
Well, I've got my notes here, and I'm going to kind of get through them throughout the show. But we'll lead off with Jackson State impressive numbers. Fourth in the nation in running the football. That opens up a lot of things offensively, especially if you can run for over 249 yards a game. That's very impressive. So you kind of got the old school there, and then they will not lull you to sleep. They'll come with the play action pass. Kobe Morgan, we'll see. You'll probably get the start, I'm sure, for Jackson State. Also, Jackson State's defense is first in scoring defense in the conference, only giving up 17.3 points a game. They're fourth in scoring 26 points a game. And then you kind of look at total offense. They're number one, 432 yards of offense so far in conference games, and defensively, they're number one, 282.7. So Southern has that work cut out for them. And I didn't go to what's trending, but let me just do that now. Conference opener, JSU at Southern, Boombox Classic. Who starts at quarterback for Southern? I'll give my opinion who I think should start, but that's just my opinion. And then, of course, we'll have the commissioners on a private FCS playoff, Wheeler, and I text you that information this week. Still for Southern and Grambling and Alabama State. Doesn't matter how lucrative they make the offer. They will still be focused on Atlanta or bust, baby. But for those who want to go to the playoffs, then you know what you have to do scheduling-wise to get there. And then, of course, we'll have our SWAC football report. We're hoping for Coach Featherweight to join us back. But let's start with who's going to be the starting quarterback for Southern University. Ashton Struthers gave a good accounting of himself against Fresno State. a couple of weeks ago. Jalen Woods, from my understanding, is out of concussion protocol. But we kind of got into it a little bit last week about who you would start, Willer. Who would you start if you were making a decision?
I'd be going with Struthers today. Yeah, and but also my decision would be based off of last week's practice. Yeah, I would have taken a good, long, hard look at both kids. Coaches nowadays, they film practices, that sort of thing. So, they have some things to look over after practice and can kind of gauge, where each kid is, and then, look to make a final decision from there. But if the kids continue to respond to Struthers the way that they did in the football game, I'd be kind of leaning towards him, even though Woods has more experience overall. But I'm kind of inclined to go with the quote unquote hot hand right now, and for me that would probably be Struthers.
Charles?
Yeah, I probably would go with McCoy. That's probably who I would go with. It's really a tough decision if you're Terrence Graves. Whichever quarterback you go with. If you go with Woods, he's been in the protocol for the last couple of weeks. You mentioned Carlos. He's probably, if he's out, then it's that rest versus rust, trying to get him back in sync. So he's the fresher quarterback. But I probably, even though McCoy has struggled, I probably would go with him simply because of the fact that he's had that experience. You have a bye week, you got to do offense, and I think I would go with him as compared to, even though Struthers played a couple of weeks ago, had a fairly decent outing against Fresno. This is a really big game for Southern University. I would probably go with McCoy, but I would have Woods kind of standing by. That would be my opinion. But I think it's a tough call no matter which quarterback you go with. The one with a second start, perhaps. You got Woods, who's been out, and then McCoy, who struggled. I think it's a tough call no matter which one you go with. If it was me, if I threw some money out there on it, I probably would go with McCoy, slow the game down, run the football against a very intense and aggressive Jackson State defense.
See, I have a different take. And let me explain. No offense, but McCoy has struggled mightily.
Yeah.
Yes, Woods coming out of concussion protocol, it's going to be a rhythm there. So I would go with Struthers. Had a good, and I don't know how many people saw the drive. He took them right down the field. He had command of the offense. He had that moxie about him, and I think you go with Struthers. Now, Woods may see some time. They may decide to play two quarterbacks, but I'm going with Struthers and Woods listed as number 2. Now, that's just how I see it, but now we'll have to wait till 6 p.m. plus, or ESPN plus to see. It's really we will see. Johnny says,
Carlos, not to cut you off, and Charles, I understand exactly where you're coming from. There's no doubt about that. But I think I'm on the side of I've seen enough of McCoy right now, and he's had enough of a sample size for me to kind of show me that maybe he ain't quite there yet. Not that he won't get there, but with a game of this magnitude, I'm just thinking I want to go in a different direction as opposed to the same old right now. And I just think McCoy, as good as he appears to be one-dimensional for me. And this is a game where I would think that you're going to need more than one dimension. As much as you would try to like to run the ball down Jackson State's throat, As Carlos said, they got the number one defense in the conference pretty much, if not close to it. And so it's going to be tough going either way. So for me, I'm going to need a multitasker, a multifaceted type person, as opposed to somebody that has shown me that he's going to be pretty much one dimensional. That's
Well
just a
said.
thought.
No,
Just a thought.
I agree totally because when you look at it, you're right. He's had enough sample size to see what you're going to get. Now, if he comes in and plays, say, in a special package, well, you're going to have to be clever with that, because the minute I see him come in,
I'm putting 8 in the box. I'm putting 8 in the box.
Right. And I think that's how defense is going to play them until they can prove that they can consistently and throw the ball. And that's one of my keys. Southern must have success throwing the ball today. I don't think you're going to be able to just line up. Don't get me wrong. The passing could set up the run game, but we see defensively how good they're against the run. So they're definitely going to have to have success throwing the ball. And then also, I'm thinking on first down, they've got to be successful, Will. They can't get behind the yardstick, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. But what I liked about Struthers, again, he had command of the offense. He's athletic enough, he can move, and he went through his progressions against a Fresno State team that had much more talent defensively than Southern's offense. So I'm going with Struthers.
Yeah, I think I think for Terrence Graves, it's an interesting decision. You go with the hot hand, as you mentioned. But in a game like this, of this magnitude, how do you attack this JSU defense, which is pretty aggressive, to run the football? I think that's going to be interesting to see, and I agree with you. You got to have manageable situations. You got to have 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3. I think Jackson State. I think Southern can run the football. I really believe that with Trey Holly. I'm sure he's gonna get a lot of carries tonight. Southern has to be able to move the football, running the football, especially with the quarterback situation the way it is. If that's a quarterback's best friend, Southern's got to figure that one out.
I think they're going to have to go as non-conventional as possible. They're going to have to open this thing up. There's no doubt about that. Run when they're supposed to be passing when they're supposed to be running. They're going to have to kind of mix and match things up. Coach McNair is going to have to pull some rabbits out of his hat. There's no doubt about that. And I think, I think Coach Graves will never be ready. But it's going to be interesting to see who handles this chess match, because at Charleston State, that's pretty much what it's going to be. And if I think I'm going to come in and impose my will, doing this particular game, I think I'm just kind of maybe kidding myself a little bit, but everybody knows what the task at hand is. And, we just got to go out and try to get it done.
And this is a conference opener for both teams, so it's important. And some may disagree with this, but I don't think if either team loses, you're not out of the race by any means. No, sir.
It ain't a killer, Carlos. No. It's not a season killer, but it can be a feel bad. It can be a feel bad for somebody. For the losing team. There's definitely going to be some questions there. They're going to be kind of feeling themselves. They're going to be down in the dumps. There's no doubt about that. It's bigger psychologically for both teams than it is from a conference-wide point of view, that sort of thing. We all would agree that all the goals will still be out there on the table for the losing team. There's no doubt about that. Still be an opportunity for Jackson State to win the East. Still be an opportunity for Southern to win the West. Still be an opportunity for them to meet in the SWAC championship game for a chance to go to the Celebration Bowl. The whole 9 yards with that. The goals will still be ahead of them, but you just going to feel bad about this, if you lose this game. for Southern being at home, that sort of thing, and that'll be pretty much the second game that they've lost at home, which should be a rarity on their part. For Jackson State, you the preseason champs, you the number ones, and all that sort of thing and stuff. And so to be able to go into enemy territory and not get it done, you're going to feel bad about that coming out of that. So, instead of calling it a feel good game, I'm calling it a feel bad game, for the losing team. So it's going to be interesting all the way around.
Yeah, because it's the Boombox Classic. It's two teams that really love to get after each other. It's a healthy dislike. And Southern and Jackson State have met 71 times. Now, some people want to argue with it, but I pulled this fact from Jackson State's website. Southern University leads the series 36-35. Yes, JSU has won 6 in a row, but previously Southern has won 8 in a row. So that's, to me, a good rivalry. It's back and forth. Capacity crowd tonight, less than 2,000 seats remain. And the last time that they met, Jackson State defeated Southern in the 2024 SWAC championship 41-13. And that game was 10-10 at halftime, and then turnovers. And Coach Graves has talked about this week. They cannot turn the ball over. Ball security is so important. So important in a big rival game. Special teams. Southern's had field goal attempts blocked. You can't have that. What if it comes down to a winning field goal or a chance to win the game? So they've got to be very good in that department. So all the ingredients are there for a good game. But there's a big but. But if you go into Vegas, which I'm starting to test Vegas, they have Jackson State as a huge favorite. But I have seen games in the past between these two. You can remember the game in Jackson when I think 4 touchdowns were scored in about a minute and a half. I remember the SWAC championship game when Coach Comedy was coaching. I think I lost a little hearing in my left ear because the guy on the side of me screamed so much when Jackson State thought they had a touchdown, but they ruled the receiver out of bounds. So it has been a outstanding rivalry. 6 in a row for Jackson State, previously 8 in a row for Southern University. That, to me, makes a good rivalry back and forth.
For all the talk about the offense and quarterbacks, Carlos, Southern University last year and going into this year, I thought their defense, you had your anchor coming back. For as much as we talk about the quarterbacks and the offense, the defense of Southern University, just like Alcorn, we always talk about Alcorn, of course, I thought Southern's defense would be a little bit better. They're giving up an average of 30 points a game. That's hard to sustain and be successful. So I think I'm going to be paying a little bit more attention to Southern's defense and how they can slow down JSU's offense, especially since we don't really know who's going to be starting at quarterback. We think we know in Jacoby and Morgan. Both coaches were coy on the quarterback situation this week. But I think, you can pretty much assume in a big game like this, TC Taylor's going to roll his best out there in Morgan. But I think Southern's defense is going to have to turn the field over, create some plays, create some turnovers to help the offense. So I'm going to be looking at that too.
And if you go back against Alabama State, 30-7, right?
Right.
But 4 turnovers.
Right.
Actually, Southern had a nice defensive package, and they contained Andrew Body. So, point blank, Jackson State believes, and the stats show it, rushing for 250 yards, first order of priority for Southern University is going to be able to stop the run. And you're right, they're giving up 30 points again. And all things being even, it's not. This year's defense is not up to par of the last 2 seasons for Southern University defense, Will. So that is a good point to see how this defense, they've got to tackle well. They've been taking bad angles. You can't continue to do that. You've got to force Jackson State. Look, defensively, if I'm gonna get beat, I'm gonna make them beat me throwing the football. You cannot let them just control the line of scrimmage and run and get their average. They get their average, it's gonna be very tough because it sets up so many other things offensively.
Well, on the defensive side, Carlos, just to ask you, what do you notice different about Southern's defense? I mean, you've got an anchor in Givens that is all world. He's going to be in the Legacy Bowl. Is the scheme different? Is just the talent different on defense? Some pieces maybe not there schematically, because I mean, Southern won the division last year because of their defense, especially in the second half and overtime of games. So when you have that coming back, you're thinking, okay, Southern can get some stops, but it hasn't been that way so far. Is anything different that you notice with Southern's defense?
Well, they're still running the 4-2-5. That's their base. I think defensive line is where they have they're not as talented up front as they were the previous 2 years. Now, coming into the season, they said the back end was the best part or the strongest unit on the defense. You got 2 new cornerbacks, so it could be a little chemistry issue also. But I think they're up front, and they've just been missing tackles, and they've been taking some bad angles, and they have not forced in a lot of turnovers. So I'm gonna say specifically up front is where they're not as talented as the previous 2 years.
Yeah, and that is key up front. I mean, for Alcorn, we don't have 1 sack so far this season, not 1.
Wow.
And so that's it's tough when you don't get pressure, especially you don't get pressure up front. So we definitely, for Alcorn, have to improve that as we take on UAPB today. But you're right, Carlos, up front it is different. And so I mean that was the question I was wondering, because when I think of Southern football this year, considering the quarterback situation going in, I thought, okay, Southern's defense will hold the fort down, let the offense kind of catch up and develop. But clearly there's some different stuff there on the defensive side.
And hopefully they'll come up with a package, gap integrity and all that. But they basically got to hold the line, and come up with something to again force them. If they get their average, they're pretty much gonna be tough to beat Jackson State. But if you could kind of cut that under their average, that would help tremendously. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, it's more of Southern and Jackson State. Also, another big game, Alabama State at FAMU. So, you could look at it as like co-games of the week. That's huge as well. We'll see if we can catch up with Coach Pettaway. He was having some technical issues. We'll be back after this timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return. No, I guess not.
I'm about to head back out on Beale Street during the break, but I guess I can't roll.
Stay away from Beale Street. No, actually, it was a tremendous experience being there a few years ago in the heat. Boy, it was hot in Memphis. Southern University and Jackson State. I think it's going to be close to sellout. As I talked to Southern officials yesterday, it was less than 2,000 tickets. Of course, ticket office open today until I believe 2:00. So, yeah, and RVs all over the place. Jackson State will represent well. They love to come to Baton Rouge, and look, they're confident. They're very confident that they're going to come in. But if I'm Southern University, look, throw caution to the wind. Come out and be ready. Be ready to play in front of your home fans, because this is another opportunity. And we looked at a couple of weeks ago that Southern University has to. You got FAMU, you got Jackson State at home, then you've got Prairie View at home. So the crowd will be there. They don't want to be disappointed again. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. I think we now can go to a break because we got to take one. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a stance, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, joined by Willie Brown and Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Hopefully we'll get Coach Pettaway back in. He's in Daytona Beach. He did say before the show it was hot and muggy down in Daytona. Actually, the temperature here in Baton Rouge is going to be very pleasant for the Jackson State game. Yes, cool front came through. It's not as humid, and boy, trust me, humidity is rough here, but probably peak at 85 degrees, and the temperature will kind of fall as the game progresses for the weather. Looking in the chat room, and some are commenting on, our segment, who starts at quarterback for Southern University. Johnny says, Struthers or Woods, period. McCoy had a chance to take this team and own it and have struggled weekly. Joseph says starting McCoy gives the Jags no shot. TC knows him too well. I would only use McCoy in special situations and then briefly. Interesting. Our friend C. Clark, our sixth man, says play action game will need to be a big part of the Southern offense. And last week, 2 weeks ago against Fresno State, first play of the game was a play action. And so you look at now, McNair is calling the plays. Coach McNair now having 2 weeks to implement an offensive package. It's going to be interesting to see. Wow. So it says that's good. No need for Southern fans to witness this whipping in hot weather.
That's cold. That's cold.
Oh yeah, they go hard at each other. And as I stated before, Jackson State's the favorite, but throw the records out. It's going to be interesting to see how Southern starts off. And I think defensively, if they can put together the effort like they did against Alabama State, and offensively, they get things going, Jackson State is not unbeatable. But Southern is the underdog, and they've got to bring their A game. They've got to play the best game of the year, in my opinion. Back to the chat room. Joseph says Southern's D-line, especially the D tackles, need to step up. Otherwise, the Jackson State rushing attack will be gashing. And those are just some of the comments. Southern and Jackson State. Willard, do you think Southern has a shot when it comes to the fourth quarter? Will they still be in the game?
I think they will, Carlos. I think it's going to be a 3-point game either way. Whomever should come out on top. But I think they're going to have a chance. Anytime you're at home, I think with an almost sellout crowd, you got a puncher's chance if nothing else. So I just think it's going to be close pretty much all the way. And, who the team that plays almost mistake-free football is probably going to come out on top in the end. And like I said before, it's going to be a chess match. I like, McNair calling the plays, that sort of thing. No doubt about that. And but TC has his troops ready, and they got a lot of things going in their favor. Maybe a few less question marks overall. And I think they're probably pretty pleased with the way they've been playing, that sort of thing. But anytime you're playing a formidable foe on the road in a hostile environment, you got to be prepared to give up some points just from those two facets of the game alone. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, I have a question there, Charles. I don't know if anybody else can see it, but appreciate Cedric, loyal watcher of the show. Question, Carlos Brown. So would you say that you're not as impressed as well with JSU, Cedric? I've been in this business a long time. You're not going to throw the okie doke on me. And I thank you, some players. Here's my scenario. I'm a player for Southern University. I respect Jackson State. They're a very good team. Personally, I am impressed with what they've done, especially against Southern Miss. They gave a good accounting of themselves. They've been solid. So, the only thing I'm going to say is we respect all and we fear none. We're going to show up and we're going to play hard. Oh, Cedric, you're not going to trap me into that. It was a player, and I'm not going to mention his name. He kind of said some things that I wouldn't have said, but that's just me. And trust me, I'm arrogant and cocky as well. I love to beat Jackson State. I wish I could run the team out on the field and then go straight to the medical tent, but that's not the case. That's not the case. Respect all, fear none. Jackson State is who they are. They're a very, very good football team, in my opinion.
They definitely are. And look, a couple of weeks ago against Tuskegee, they had a lot of guys out. from the Southern Miss game.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they still were able to do what they did. So they're going to be fresh. They were off last week, so was Southern University. I love the Jaguar Nation. I give my predictions, and when I feel like Southern's going to win a particular game, I go with them. I don't have any hatred towards any team in this conference. I just think this is going to be a tough beast for Southern today. I really do. Mumford Stadium, sellout, crowds antsy, the Jaguar Nation's antsy. And I think these type of games, and Carlos, you know, I've said this on this show many a time, other than Alcorn, Southern has showed up and showed out at Mumford against Alcorn. There's no doubt about that. But in the Jackson State Southern matchup at home and some of these other big matchups, Southern University comes up short. And this is one of those matchups in which you can erase a lot of doubters considering the quarterback situation, get your defense right. I think this is another tough matchup. I said it against Alabama State a couple of weeks ago. Keep it close, and if not, it could get away from you in the second half, and that's what happened against Alabama State. This one could get away from you if you're not ready. This one could get away from you early. And so I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Southern University all the way around. And look, the season's not over if Southern loses this game, but your back is against the wall early because the schedule is unforgiving. You got to go to Daytona to take on Bethune. Then you got Prairie View at home. By Halloween, it could be tough. So Southern needs this game just for confidence, settle the fan base down a little bit, just like we need this game here in Memphis against UAPB to settle our fan base down. You know, there are a lot of similarities between Alcorn and Southern University, Carlos. Our fans are anxious, so is the Jaguar Nation. And so we need this win before we come home and take on Prairie View. Southern needs this win today against Jackson State as well. So I think it's a tough matchup. Southern's going to have to play really, really, really well to win this game. And then also I think Jackson State's got to be a little bit off kilter too. And maybe Southern can do something about that.
Willie, do you agree with Charles?
I got a lot of respect for both coaches. You know, no doubt about that. And I think both have done an outstanding job with their particular programs. And, you know, Southern's at home, you know, and normally I like to go with the home team, especially, you know, semi-sellout crowd and the whole 9 yards to go with that. I just think right now Jackson State is playing better. Mm-hmm. And having looked at the sample sizes in terms of what each team brings to the table, Jackson's bringing a little bit more consistency to the table right now. And I think that's going to offset the edge that Southern may have by being a home team and playing, you know, in front of a sellout crowd, that sort of thing. I said in the beginning that it's going to be a 3-point game either way. And right now I'm looking at Jackson State in terms of coming out on top by 3 points. And like I said, you know, I got the utmost respect for Coach Graves and, you know, and TC, you know, no doubt about that. You know, I'd be proud to have either one of them as the head coach of my particular program. If I was the AD somewhere, there's no doubt about that at all. And, you know, like I said, it's just that Southern has been struggling, you know, early on, you know, this early in the season. Jackson State has found a little bit more consistency, that sort of thing. And I think that consistency may weigh out over the home field advantage that Southern may have. So I just think Jackson State by a field goal.
There's two predictions, JSU. I'm going to wait. I'm still going. I'm perplexed about something internally, but I will have the prediction, my prediction, before the show has ended. TC Taylor, a great coach, interviewed for the Southern opening. I don't know if many people know that, but no head coaching experience, but an outstanding coach, given an opportunity, see what happens. So that was interesting when I found out that information. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because TC Taylor is one of the coaches we talked about. You know, instead of going with the name brand or the coach that has a name behind him, but not necessarily, the coaching experience, he is the type of guy. You look at Coach Graves, longtime assistant, then getting the opportunity. It's all about opportunities. And speaking of those coaches with those famous names, Coach Jackson's doing well at Delaware State. However,
played 2 D2s. Come on, Carlos. Can't give them no slack on that. Come on.
No.
You know how I feel about them D2s now.
But
come on now. You feasting on inferior teams. And now you the savior. You the second coming. Come on now. I just can't. I don't know.
I said he was doing a good job, but I said, however, and that's when you interrupt me. However, he's coming into the meat of his schedule coming up. And then let's come back and see Michael Vick. Growing pains. And if there are to be any openings coming up, because every year you look at SWAC Football Media Day, is always somebody's not there, somebody's missing, somebody new comes in. I wonder if that type of coach we'll see more of them in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
I think, and this is just my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
I feel about the celebrity coach, but let's isolate that with Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either one of those coaches will be heading our way. I think either one or both of those coaches will be heading to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was announced, the Celebration Bowl, Norfolk State and Jackson State in 28? I can't remember what year, 28, 29. I can't remember which year it was. But Norfolk will be playing Jackson State. I don't think Mike Vick will be there by the time that matchup happens. Either way, if he wins and wins big, he won't be at Norfolk. If he loses, he won't be there either. So you talked about it, you brought it up. And yeah, there's some growing pains for Mike Vick, but it's year one. For Deshaun Jackson, he's going through what he's going through and playing the type of schedule he's playing. It's year one. But I don't anticipate either one of those coaches being there beyond 3 years. I think the NFL's come calling. If they have any level of success from what they took the program over, they're going to be somewhere else. Mike Vick's name was mentioned for Sacramento State. Remember, there was 2 openings, Norfolk State and Sacramento State. Personally, I'm glad he took the Norfolk job. I think that Sacramento State job is a lot more to it. They've had budget cuts over there, and it's just, I thought it was a better fit for him, obviously being on this side of it. But I predict, in my opinion, and if I'm wrong, I'll come back and say in a few years I'm wrong, both of them head to the NFL. Some owner's going to call them, some coach's going to call them, and that's where they're going next.
Willie, you actually think they're going to go? I don't care if they go 13-0 to the NFL. No,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
I don't know really what either one of them bring to the table. I mean, I can't see it. I can't see it. Give me the skill set. What is it that you would bring to my particular team? We got to be talking about them as position coaches.
Correct.
That's first off. Definitely not in terms of any kind of coordinating position on either side of the ball. So if you're talking about Deshaun Jackson being a wide receiver coach or something like that, maybe, yeah. If you're talking about Vic possibly being a quarterback coach, I mean, I don't know what either one of them bring skill set wise to the table right now. I still think the jury is out in terms of their individual coaching abilities.
Right.
And, so I think a whole lot more developing is going to have to take place. And then if you're an NFL coach or NFL executive or something like that, I mean, he'd have to come in getting the coffee and the donuts, as opposed to stepping right in with, one of those big hats on and that sort of thing. So I could see both of them possibly getting in on the ground floor and building themselves up. And if I'm them, I think I would take that route. That route would probably be a little bit more satisfying for them in the long run, as opposed to the monumental tasks they are undertaking right now. Because I don't see things getting better at either one of those particular schools. I see the flavor of the month right now, and how Baskin Robbins like to change the ice cream flavors. I think it's just a matter of time before these flavors kind of dissipate, and folk gonna be looking to move on and looking to try to find the next lightning in the bottle, what have you.
And then if you look at the NFL, and then you have to deal with the owners, right? And the climate is such. How many African American head coaches you have? Now I know now, Charles, you're saying specifically as a position coach, but I thought you meant as a head coach.
Oh, no.
No.
Look,
That's not gonna happen.
Once you get your foot in on the ground floor, you're in. And so that's where I'm headed. No, as a head coach, I don't see it. But if Nick Sirianni in 3 years calls Mike Vick and says, look, I have a position for you, considering what he did in Philadelphia and all that, I do think that he would probably strongly consider taking that. Same with Deshaun Jackson or Arthur Blank. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying that if they have any, and this is my opinion, if they have any sort of success at Delaware and Norfolk State, I believe that someone in the NFL for some team is going to call them to be on their staff.
Well, they should have had to do the same way what you're saying in NFL on the collegiate level. They didn't have no experience, but their name.
Right.
That's what got them there. And again, September 27th, I still feel the same. That's not fair. But they're entitled to hire who they want to as individual institutions. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in their career. Once again, HBCU, it's a stepping ground for those people to come in. And see, you saw how I said those people come in. Some of them didn't smell a HBCU. I'm sure Vic knew about it because he's from Norfolk. So he knew about Norfolk State. But that just doesn't sit right with me. But I'm consistent. That's still my opinion about how and why some of our HBCUs do that.
And people are entitled. I mean, athletes entitled to go to schools, whatever school they want to choose, that sort of thing. I don't have an issue with that at all. My thing is, at the end of the day, get in line. Just get in line. Get in line and earn your keep. The same way that the regular GA gets in line and works his way up the ladder, that sort of thing. And, I mean, I get it, in terms of you taking advantage of your celebrity status and things of that nature. I just look beyond that, in terms of what about the kids? There's certain skills you need to bring to the table in terms of being able to develop talent, being able to recruit talent, being able to represent, the university that you're working at, in a particular manner, with a particular skill set, the whole 9 yards. And just some things you just can't tumble into. Certain positions, you really need to kind of come on in. I call it the right way, and and pretty much work your way up, that sort of thing. And for every prime, because I know everybody gonna want to revert back to that and the instant success that he had at Jackson State. For every prime that may be out there, there are more of the other characters out there than than people kind of want to take a look at.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, it won't change. The trend is, in my opinion, or it should be, give people an opportunity. Give them an opportunity to work their way up, and that's the prize at the end of the day, an opportunity. So Michael Vick, Coach Jackson, it'll be interesting to see how their career, how it will end or will it begin past college football. Will, 3 minutes at the top of the hour. Tough time for you last week. North Carolina A&T. Wow, they got
understatement
blitzed.
of the year. Understatement.
then the Ravens. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I think that one was worse. Yeah, I don't know. The Ravens might be worse because it was a competitive game. North Carolina A&T and North Carolina Central.
Yeah.
The rivalry. That's tough. So to your point earlier, that's a feel good and a feel bad game. Feel good for North Carolina Central, feel bad for North Carolina A&T. And then losing is tough, but losing by that amount.
And I just hope
that's a double whammy.
I just hope that people have patience, with Sean Gibbs. Our folk have been known to be kind of antsy, that sort of thing, and want that instant success. And, it takes time to change the culture, and I text him, Sean, after the game and, told him just that, keep your head up, that sort of thing. And we normally text each other after every game. And, I try to stay in contact with them, try to keep the spirits up. Things of that nature. I mean, he let it be known that, it was tough for him. One of the toughest games he'd ever been a part of, as a player, as a coach, that sort of thing. And, when you trying to change the culture, you're going to have some tough times like that, some tough moments. You got to continue to shake things up and, keep things moving forward. And, continue to try to get your message out there. So I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be okay. I wasn't pleased with the kids spraying water in the coach from Central's face. Come on now. Then I saw people out there were complaining that, coach kicked the kid off the team and all that sort of thing. Talking about he should have ran some sprints and all. Come on. Jesus Christ. I mean, you don't do anything like that. He had to go. He had to get rid of that kid. And that was just indicative probably of some of the other problems that he has inherited overall and why he needs to go through that program with a fine-tooth comb and build it back up from scratch. And like I said, I just hope people have a little patience with him and continue to support him. And keep them moving.
Well, Will, I have one thing to say about your Ravens. I like you. I want you to feel good. but who the Ravens have coming up after Kansas City, right?
Who? I don't
know. LA Rams. The LA Rams, baby.
That's the next game.
Yeah, well, hey, I want you to feel good this week because you're not gonna feel good next week. So enjoy.
Well, I'll take next week when next week comes. I
agree.
I just want the week that's in front of me right now.
Win the week.
And I'm telling you, people talk that Super Bowl contender and all that sort of thing. Right now, we ain't it right now. That's for sure. We got some things going on defensively that need a complete makeover, in my opinion. And as I stated on Facebook, individual breakdowns are the responsibility of the players, but group breakdowns are the responsibility of the coaches. And we got some issues there in particular groups in terms of breakdowns. And to me, you start at the top and you work your way down. So I'm raising hell with the defensive coordinator, and then I'm moving myself on down from there. And I like Harbaugh, don't get me wrong. I like Harbaugh. I think he's a little slow in terms of making the changes that he need to make. I ain't pressing the panic button, Charles, but my finger is awful close.
Oh boy,
that's hard, Wheeler. Hey, you are the ultimate hardliner, so that's
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Well,
yes,
I can't.
Indeed.
At least your teams have people are talking about them. My team. I told you a couple of weeks ago in a text message. You didn't make me feel any better, Wheeler. You said 5 or 6. The Saints may win 2 games.
Whoa.
May win 2. I said 3. I done put it down. But
they're in a rebuild, Carlos. They're
in a rebuild. Big time.
So I got a story to share, Carlos. Our sideline guy, Cedric Tillman, is a big Saints fan. He loves the Saints. He always checks ticket prices. He wants to go to these games, and he wants to go to New Orleans. So I said, are you in a hurry to get back so you can at least check to see if you can get to New Orleans? Hell, he don't even want to talk about the Saints. What are you talking about? I mean, I guess they can give him a ticket. He probably wouldn't go. So for someone that's a diehard Saints fan to go from where you were to where you are, it is tough. But I can't say too much about my Rams either. As you know what happened, special teams last week. I'm still busted and disgusted what happened to the Rams last week. I mean, just special teams all around in the NFL was bad last week.
It is. It is. It was atrocious. Something with that kickoff. What's going on with these new kickoff rules? Yeah. I mean, because I just see everybody just kind of stinking it up. You don't want to kick it into the end zone now, I guess, because of the field position they give you for the touchback or what have you. And so, they want to make sure that the ball's in play. But it just seems like teams are giving up a whole lot of yardage trying to keep that ball in play.
I hope it doesn't come to the college landscape. No time soon. We're going to take a timeout. Before we take a timeout, Johnny says, Carlos, I'm on Swan Avenue in traffic. Oh, boy.
What's happening, Carlos?
Well, Carlos, you got the special pass, right, Carlos?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I need a helicopter.
You got the pass where you drive on the sidewalk and on the grass and all that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was Charles.
I did that. Guilty of charge. Yes, sir.
Maybe I can get behind Jackson State's motorcade in the police and get in there because it's nasty already. It is nasty already. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, I still have my prediction coming up. A SWAC football report. There is another huge game. FAMU hosts Alabama State. Also, I got my top 3 teams. There's so many polls out there. Yeah. It's the end of September. In the SWAC, just the top 3 teams. It's going to be easy as 1, 2, 3. We'll be back after this timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com. ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, joined by Willer Brown, live from Baltimore, Maryland, and Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, live from Memphis, Tennessee.
Live from Beale Street, baby. Live from Beale Street.
Charles, stay away from Beale Street till at least after the broadcast.
I might go a couple of blocks down Beale Street as soon as I leave here before I head to the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the case, you won't make it to the stadium, Charles.
You're exactly right. I'll be on Beale Street in the unemployment line, and I'll probably be living on Beale Street then.
And I'll tell you what, Beale Street is outstanding. I can remember a lot, but then reportedly I had to be helped back to the hotel room that night. Oh, boy.
Help me with this, Carl. You know, when we went, the first time I went on Beale Street, I had to pay $10. It was on a Friday night. Now, did we get scammed? Or, I mean, because when I share that story with other people, like, I've never heard of that before. We had to pay $10 on a Friday night. Yeah, I don't know if that's, I hadn't seen that since. I haven't even heard of it since.
I know they stamp your hand. Yeah, we did have to pay, but it was worth it to me. It was worth it to me. I would have paid $50 that night. But very, very, very good time. Very good time. With that being said, I've been getting text messages about traffic, and matter of fact, one of the guys who watches the show is a Jackson State alum. He has arrived in Baton Rouge. He said hopefully the bus driver can maneuver to campus, and homecoming will probably be even more intense, but we shall see. Our SWAC football report last week, September the 20th. I think some of us on this panel predicted Edward Waters to win or play close.
I did, unfortunately.
Well, things happen. But Bethune-Cookman all over Edward Waters 35-9. Bethune-Cookman can score a lot of points. And in most cases, they give up a lot of points. So they get their first victory of the season. They played a tough schedule, but they defeated Edward Waters. It was Alabama A&M over Lane 49-7, albeit before the show, Coach Pettaway said that their number one quarterback is going to be out for this game. We'll have our predictions for that, but my top three, remember that. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Got a chance to see Prairie View A&M and Northwestern State at least quarter and a half. Prairie View A&M had to come from behind. Basically, we'll just put it this way. They won by 3, 27-24. Is Northwestern State better than people assume? Or is Prairie View still trying to build to win the West? It's the first year for Coach Jackson, but a 3-point victory over Northwestern State. And Grambling State now, I picked East Texas A&M, and I almost had that right. But just some mysterious stuff is going on with Grambling State. It's kind of winning close games. They won another close one. They defeated East Texas A&M 31-28. But I got a chance to see a good bit of that game. And their record is not indicative of how they're playing. They've been very fortunate. I don't want to say lucky.
Same thing.
But Grant said, well, yeah. Close ball games, and they got a big one today. That's also a big game, State Fair Classic. So that's how last week went for September the 20th. Anybody in the panel, do they have anything they want to say about the games last week? Did a game catch your interest or catch your eye?
I thought that Lane game with Alabama A&M was a trap. I said it last week. It could be a trap game. It was anything but that. Alabama A&M had to do business. I'll tell you something. Well, I have to back up now because Coach Pettaway reported that Brown, their quarterback, is out, and he's a difference maker for them. So, but if he's healthy, Alabama A&M is going to be definitely a team to watch. Grambling stumbling through those last couple of games at Kentucky State and East Texas State. On one hand, yeah, they were very fortunate, but I think for Mickey Joseph looking for something good to happen, a spark of sorts, that what we're going to see today. When I'm taking on a Prairie View team that, in my opinion, is moving up on my poll for sure, in terms of in near the top crust of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And Bethune-Cookman scoring more points, which is scary for other teams because they hadn't been. So with each game last week, Carlos, I learned something about our SWAC teams, and teams are starting to kind of feel it a little bit.
Well, I simply have a top three. It's easy as 1, 2, 3, ABC. 1, Jackson State. No doubt about it. No discussion, no debate. Now, we can debate number 2. It's not FAMU. I don't have FAMU in there. They're still gathering themselves. They had a nice victory against Albany State. But number 2, I got Alabama State. Number 2, and then number 3, I got Alabama A&M. That's my top 3. And now it could be some debate about Alabama State and Alabama A&M. I give Alabama State the edge because of their defensively. Not to say Alabama A&M is not good defensively, but you got Body healthy, playing well. He manages the game. He's not turning the ball over, ball security, and they have a shot at every game the rest of the way. It'll be a big one against Jackson State, but they got a big one today against FAMU. So that's my top 3. The schedule for Saturday, September 27th, it's Alabama State at FAMU, 2 p.m. on HBCU Go. It's Alabama A&M at Bethune-Cookman, 2 p.m. SWAC TV. Texas Southern at Mississippi Valley State. Wow. Somebody will come away with a win today. Will it be Texas Southern or Mississippi Valley State? Alcorn at Arkansas Pine Bluff, 6 p.m. HBCU go. Man, it's some strange games between Alcorn and UAPB. But the good thing is, I guess, it's not in Little Rock or Lorman, because that's when stupid things happen. It's in Memphis.
The Southern Heritage Classic.
Southern Heritage Classic. See, that doesn't even.
What's the guarantee?
It doesn't even ring,
Charles. What's the guarantee up there, Charles? What's the guarantee?
Well, first of all, the game was originally scheduled for Pine Bluff, and obviously, the promoter, getting UAPB, and he called us early in the year. I don't know what the guarantee is. I do know that the game, it took a couple of weeks for it to be officially official. The media reported it as being official. There was some discussion about our band being taken care of to kind of wrap up the deal. So if you look at the expense of going to Pine Bluff as compared to Memphis, it's a little bit more there. And I think we're probably covered as far as this game is concerned on that deal. Now, I was told that this may be a 2-year deal. We may be playing them again next year here. I haven't been official on that yet, but I've just kind of heard some grumbling. This is several months ago when was just kind of getting more information on it. But to answer your question, Will, I don't know the guarantee. Obviously, it's enough where we're getting a few bucks out of it, maybe a break-even deal, which is more than what you would be getting if you're going to Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
Pine Bluff, you're not getting anything.
It's still Southern Heritage Classic, and Fred has a history of lowballing teams, which is why he was grasping, for straws in the beginning. And for teams to agree to play in there now, I think it kind of diminishes the value, But I think the promoters there pretty much think that it's the Southern Heritage Classic of old. So people are going to come and partake in the festivities, so forth and so on. So I can pay the teams whatever I want to pay the teams. And, the game pretty much is relegated to secondary status when in a lot of years the game was the thing. Along with the pageantry of the bands and all that sort of thing. And Memphis blew up, whenever the Southern Heritage Classic was, about to happen, and all that sort of thing. And now it just seems like it's diminished, quite a bit. And our promoters got to do a better job of taking care of our schools. There's no doubt about that. And there's no reason why, Jackson State and Tennessee State, could not have been continued to play in that game. I think it was enough proceeds to go around to where, they could have taken care of both schools adequately and kind of kept that going.
I thought it was a perfect match. I thought Jackson State, and I'm glad we're in this game, and a lot of our are here on Beale Street and just enjoying Memphis. It's a good weekend, good weather-wise and all that. But I thought Jackson State, Tennessee State, and Memphis with the promoter, Jackson State and Tennessee State, was a great marriage. You got two schools at equal distance from Memphis. To me, it was wonderful. I mean, they had 50,000 some years there. And so I thought it was really, really a really good setup. But, unfortunately, once the Band-Aid was ripped off, you saw how much money was actually being made. Obviously, there was some there, and Coach Sanders got involved with it, and all that other stuff. And maybe it'll get back to that. But I'm glad that we're here, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes as far as this game. This is the first time I've done a game here in Memphis. We've been to a lot of different stadiums, NFL stadiums, and that sort. But as far as these promoters in these games, I think administration is a little more careful and particular about signing these things. There have been classics in Chicago and Indianapolis. We've been in one in New Jersey. We've been in one at the Redskins Stadium. We played Tuskegee out in California one year. And so I think that there's a lot more to look at. And even Southern Bethune-Cookman, Carlos, that game was in Daytona, then Tampa. And there was a comment last week that said the game's back in Daytona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so someone made a comment last week that they thought the game was in Tampa, but it has been moved back due to whatever renegotiations breaking down, lack of communication, whatever it is. So I think that these classics have their place. There was a ton of them 20 years ago, but I think ADs and administrations are a little bit more particular with these classics now than they have been in the past.
And Charles, we're talking about, what's the next step in terms of the guarantee games going away and things of that nature. And Carlos, it's the classic system. But, we got to be, the promoters got to be on the up and up, got to take care of these schools, that sort of thing, got to be prepared to do that, if our schools are going to survive under that system. And that's the only thing that's going to be able to adequately replace the guarantee game system. You want us to stop playing the Power Fours and the Power Fives, that sort of thing, then the classic system is going to have to become front and center, and it's going to have to be a thing where it's going to be lucrative enough for our schools to bypass the alternatives.
Well, and I think you see less and less classics. Kudos to Jackson State because they pretty much said we got underpaid, if I remember, all of these years, and their brand is hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they could demand who are negotiating these contracts. In most cases, it's what the athletic director with the president signing off on
this
it.
is pretty much this presidential.
Okay.
Make no mistake about that. As a matter of fact, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, I was pretty much almost forced to agree to continue Southern Heritage by the president at JSU at the time. Because the promoters went over my head to negotiate directly with the presidents, and the presidents wanted to continue. So where I was kind of advocating for more monies, that sort of thing, the presidents wanted to keep the status quo, and to keep it moving from there. And so I was overridden in terms of what I wanted, and a 3-year extension was signed, and it continued to move on from there. So I complained about those things years before Prime was even thinking about being Prime, that sort of thing. So it's not a thing of when he walked in the door, all of a sudden, people thought we were getting shortchanged and all that sort of thing. That had been going on for years before he even arrived on the scene.
Yeah.
And so, when you got other folk, Carlos, that are calling the shots, I mean, this is what you get. And now, you're just looking to put a game out there. I think it's Morgan State and Central State at Circle City Classic now this weekend. Up in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And that used to be one of the well-paid
Yes.
classics. I mean, that was booming for a long time. And so I mean, like I said, it's just a thing of all these classics now kind of falling to the wayside. You see them heavily investing in D2s because the D2s are not going to ask for that much money. So, and then you're going to get a bunch of D1s that you probably wouldn't mess with under ideal circumstances, that sort of thing. No knock against any of the schools that are participating. But there was a time, like I said, when they were getting the best of the best, those teams that were the drawing cards, the Grambling, the Southerns, the Jackson States, the A&Ts, that sort of thing. People that were going to bring 15, 20,000, to the venue. Yeah, but like I said, now it's kind of going by the wayside a bit. So hopefully we can get that back.
Yeah,
Well, Willie, I
be
got a horror story for it. Well, not a horror story. I got a story for you. We played in St. Louis one year, and I noticed, of course, the first half went. It was halftime. I noticed our band was out there a lot longer than usual. A long halftime show. Our band played a long time, and I'm like, why is our band still out there? Why is our football team not on the field and warming up? I was told our president, God rest his soul, Dr. Walter Washington, who was a hardliner when it comes to money and all that, was looking for the promoter to kind of find out what the money situation was looking like. Well, we couldn't find that guy. So he told the coach, do not come out of the locker room until I tell you, because he wanted to make sure that the money situation was straight for Alcorn State University.
Wow.
And so Dr. Washington told the coach, do not come out of the locker room until I get this figured out. And so it was probably a 30-minute halftime at least. So, to that point, I think, when you come to these classics, there's a lot of money involved with bands and 6 buses and hotel. There's a lot. The cost is a lot more now than it was 20 years ago. And so you want to make sure your band is taken care of, your football team is taken care of, whether it's Fresno State or Southern Miss, whatever it is. You want to make sure that your band is taken care of with these games.
And that's why I always had a rule, 25% when we sign the contract, 25% before we get on the bus.
That's 50.
And the other 50 within 30 days of the game being played. So if nothing else, before the bus left campus, okay, I was having 50% in my pocket. Period. Before the bus even left the campus. Yeah. And with that, I knew I was getting something out of the deal, Carlos, if nothing else. Now you can go ahead and renege on the rest if you like or what have you, but I'm not waiting until 30 days after to get the whole sum. No, that ain't the way to do business.
Willie, what is line of credit? Now, since you guys have told a story, this guy what I'm about to talk about, and I was told Marino Casson was a hard line as well. He had to have 50% down and then a line of credit in the bank for the rest before they left. That's the story told. And so Pat Riley just texted me. He said, will we ever see Southern in Memphis? Not while I'm living. I don't think so, because they're going to demand. And then, but let me stop there. Pine Bluff, right? It was their home game. It would have to be a nice little coup in their bank account to move a game. Compared to what?
Really. But not really.
Well, wait a minute. Compared to what they normally get at a home game, I would compare that to, is it worth moving the game? Apparently, they thought so.
Well, Charles, would the Alcorn crowd have gone to Pine Bluff?
No.
For Pine Bluff, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, there would have been our usual cast of characters that would have been there. I'd heard the story that our band wasn't going to Pine Bluff at first, but then I talked to the band director. They were going to Pine Bluff if the game was Pine Bluff, because I heard at first that they weren't, but the band director told me they were going. So that makes a difference. So I think when you move these games, Carlos, I think it depends on the opponent. For example, we moved our Alabama State home game last year to Mobile. Now, there's no way we're going to move our home game with Southern or Jackson or Grambling.
No.
So
that'd be ludicrous.
Right. So I think it depends on the matchup. Your rival, your classic big money games or medium-sized money games at home, you're probably not going to take that somewhere else. You're probably going to play it at home. But Alcorn UAPB is not a big draw. I hate to say it because it's, I want to see all of our stadiums sold out. You know, I would like that, but I know I'm unrealistic in that. So I think that's the reason why you take these games. You know, for example, FAMU and Valley in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Valley and Atlanta, that's an interesting conversation there as far as that game is concerned. You know, I mean, you know my opinion on it, and I love Dr. Shields, Gaston, the new AD, and now this was done before her. But you know, I would have kept the game in Itabena, to be honest with you. But I understand why it's in Atlanta. Obviously, it's going to be beneficial for FAMU and Valley playing it there.
And Charles, if they had a real AD at the time, which they have a real AD now, and that deal was done beforehand,
Right.
knowing Shields the way I know her, she would not have moved that game to Atlanta. She would have kept that game at home.
Right.
Yeah, because that would have been a decent drawing game for them.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So, but you know, when you got somebody in charge that really doesn't know the lay of the land, so to speak, that sort of thing, you know, $100,000 sound like a whole lot of money or what have you. I don't know what the guarantee was. Yeah. But you know, it sounds like a whole lot of money. And you know, going to Atlanta and the pageantry and, you know, all the other stuff that goes along with that, you know, I could see where a person that doesn't have the knowledge of what's going on would kind of go for it and make it happen. You know, the FAMU people didn't have any whims about it because naturally, you know, I'd rather go to Atlanta than go to Itabena, you know. So, I mean, it probably was an easier trip for FAMU, you know, a more enjoyable trip for them, and you know, throw in hotel rooms and all that sort of thing. They in heaven.
Well, I can go back in history. Can you imagine Southern and Jackson State playing in a neutral site? We saw it a few times. History has showed that.
Yeah.
Then a Southern Jackson game got moved to Jackson when it was Southern's home game. You remember that? And the guy who orchestrated that was in favor of it. He's back on the board again. but I tell you what, it's an economic impact. I'm getting text messages already about Carlos, you may be in trouble if you're trying to get on campus. It's really rough. It's really, I'm getting reports. It's really rough.
That means traffic might be backed up on 110 like it was last year when we went.
110, Swan, Hardin Boulevard, Scenic Highway.
Wow. 5.5 hours before kickoff. Wow.
Well, I've seen it before. And just think, if Southern record was 3-1.
Oh my goodness.
But then in the case, it doesn't matter.
Because we know you got a chopper. You got a chopper on standby. So.
Hell, I need a chopper now.
We know what the deal. We know what the deal is now. We know what the deal is.
It's only so many routes and people you know to help you get in there. You know, I won't get in a crash. You know, but
or jump the curb like I did last year. Just jump the curb, drive on the grass, and park on the tennis court. That's exactly what I had to do.
See, and nothing happened to you. It'd be my luck. I get a ticket. You know, we know who that is. It's a loudmouth. Give him a ticket. Don't let him through. But that Southern and Jackson State game, I remember legislatures threatening Southern officials. That better not ever happen again. Oh yeah. I mean, when it's your home game and you moved it, and a lot of the fans were against it. You know, Jackson State fans loved it. You know,
of course.
Why not have every game in Jackson when they play? Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. So yeah, with classics, I think you got to retool it though. You know, you can't go by the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. It's 2025, and no, the Heritage Classic. I mean, in Vegas, Southern has reported to me that they've already been approached about playing in Vegas next year or in a few years. Not going to happen probably because in the Southern's position is it would be better for them to play a non-conference game than the conference game. So Grambling and Jackson State are playing in Vegas, right? But it's a conference game. So you'll never see, I think, Southern, never say never, but in the Heritage Classic, it would have to be the right fit, as Charles said, the right opponent. But don't hold your breath. It won't happen again. And Southern, everybody has to negotiate the contracts as they see fit. Southern's a little stiff. No, a lot stiff. And I think Jackson State and FAMU has that backing too, that they can pretty much name their price for what they're going to move it for. Call it cocky and arrogant.
Well, for years, Carlos, Alcorn and Jackson State played in Jackson every single year. Had the old Henderson Stadium, and of course they had Memorial, and every year that game was in Jackson until it wasn't. We played Grambling and Shreveport. When I first got here, my first broadcast was in Shreveport. It was Grambling and Alcorn and Shreveport to get the season underway until that stopped. So over time, those things changed and became home and home. But, when you look at these classics now, I mean, they are kind of going by the boards, and we've been in a bunch of them: Chicago, Indianapolis, East Rutherford, New Jersey, Redskins Stadium. We've been to Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We played Morehouse and the LA Classic. So those type of things you don't see as much of anymore. I do think that they're going to be a little more careful in terms of these classics now, because there's just so much money that you could lose if things go sideways. And so I think there's a little more particular when it comes to some of these classics now.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Like I said, you got to be retooled. The classics, participants need to get as much as they can. And to take care of all their needs. And so it also goes back to teams that are winning. Jackson State's on the roll. Their brand is hot. Post Sanders. and it was hot before Sanders. Yeah. Now, because I remember we brought this up before. Some said, well, but they were not winning. But look at the body of work. They played some good football at Jackson. Southern University. They hadn't won a championship since 2013 against Jackson State. So that's a fan base that's starving. And so back to the game today. This has to be a game where the fan base does not feel that at the end of the game, that they're disappointed. A tough loss, a close loss, that's one thing. But if it's a game like the Alabama State where you turn the ball over 4 times and you lose by 23, home is sacred. That's where you come out and you should play your best ball. It's tough on the road. And for a lot of years, we said Southern University on the road was not really playing a road game because you had so many fans coming to those games. Willie, you saw him when he was AD at Jackson. So now is the time to really put up and get the fan base. They're going to be there today again. Play your best game of the season if you're Southern University. And if you fall short, the effort was there. But it can't be a game like Alabama State. Cannot be a game like Alabama State. So that's why I'm a coach, player. Look, no bulletin board material. This is serious business. We're going to show up and we're going to play hard. That's the 2 things I promise. And then let the chips fall where they may. Let's take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll have our predictions. Get them ready. I got my predictions for the conference games this week and also the Southern and Jackson State game. Will I be disappointed? Will I go with my head or will I go with my heart? I'll tell you.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th for event and ticket information.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, Willie Brown. Somebody asked me where we can. I said, not that I know. And Charles Edmond. Want to thank everybody in the chat room. Cedric, Karen, Christopher Dukes. Let's see, KD, Adrian, Darrell, Adrian, Dr. Carey, they're all in there. Boy, some of you are really having fun, I can see. McCoy runs for 300 yards and throws for -8 yards. Interesting. Carlos, you're going to be disappointed today. Thank you, Karen. We shall see. Let's get to we gave you the schedule, but now listen to prediction. Alabama State at FAMU. Boy, this is a tough one to predict. But panel, what say you?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna say congratulations, FAMU. We talk about crowds. I read something yesterday. It's a sellout at Bragg. Good to see.
Should be
crowd at Bragg. I'm going with Alabama State.
Oh boy!
There's some people that I've talked to that's not a believer in Andrew Body for some reason. That they think he's gonna find a way to give it away, but he hasn't shown that so far. I think with Alabama State's defense plus that offense led by Andrew Body, FAMU did do a little bit better against Fort Valley. It was a good win for them, but I just think it's right now Alabama State offensively is on a roll right now. Even though it's a sellout at Bragg, they'll be dancing in the aisles. I'm going Alabama State in this
one. I'm going with Alabama State also. They're playing good defense right now. FAMU's been struggling pretty much the entire season, even though it's still early, and they just haven't found the right combination yet, I think. So they'll make it a little closer than normal because they're playing at home. Yeah, as Charles says, sell out and what have you, that sort of thing. But I think Alabama State just playing real well right now, and I think it'll continue for them.
Well, I'm going to go against the grain here. FAMU's home crowd has been just outstanding. I got a chance to see the crowd and how they were truly a sixth man. And I think they're going to play off of that crowd, and I think they're going to keep it close. I like FAMU. I'm going with the home team. Now, EA will probably say I just gave him the kiss of death when I pick FAMU, but at home it's the strongest point, and I think it'll be a close one. But I like FAMU by at least about 3 points. They will win that game, but we shall see. I may be wrong, but that is my prediction. Alabama A&M at Bethune-Cookman, 2 p.m. SWAC TV. I'm going to go with Alabama A&M. They're just tough. They're nasty. They're physical. And they have something building. And they're trending up. I just don't think their defense will allow Bethune-Cookman to run wild on the offensive side. I'm going with Alabama A&M in this game, Charles.
I was going with Alabama A&M until Coach Pettaway broke the news that Brown will not play today. I have now changed my view. Without him, and I saw him up close and personal a few weeks ago, he could make it. He could make the throws, even though he missed a few against Alcorn. But with his feet, he can make it happen. Without them, they're a different team offensively. Bethune-Cookman's a little bit better offensively right now in this matchup. They're at home. It's hard to win at Daytona Stadium. It really is. I'm going with Bethune-Cookman.
I'm going with A&M. I just think from what I've seen of Shade so far, he's been the type to have been able to make adjustments on the fly, that sort of thing. And I just think with his background and his pedigree and, the whole 9 yards with that, I think he's prepared not to have his starting quarterback there today. I would be remiss to think that he would not be prepared with his second string guy to come in and do an admirable job. And I still, Bethune scored some points last week. You know how I feel about D2s, Carlos. So, even though I picked Edward Waters last week, I still can't put a whole lot of stock in Bethune yet. And I'm going with A&M today. I think they make the adjustments, and I think Bethune keeps it close, but I think A&M comes out in the end.
Defense, Bulldogs. Defense. They'll rely on that and the toughness. Texas Southern and Mississippi Valley State, 4 p.m. SWAC TV. Mississippi Valley State may perhaps be a better team than the last few years, but the record doesn't show that because they played a hellacious, tough schedule. Texas Southern at Valley. Ooh, boy. I'm gonna go with Texas Southern, although I would not be surprised if Valley gets the first win of the season. But I think Texas Southern has enough to come in and get a close victory. I don't think it'll be a blowout. We saw Valley play very well against Southern University. So, but I think Texas Southern will come in and win a close one.
There it is, Carlos. You just made the point. Valley's a tough team to beat in Itabena. We know their coach is going to bring that effort, and that team's going to bring the effort. They had a chance to beat Southern University. I think that Valley will win this game. Coach Dishman, after the Lamar loss, said he's got to make some changes. We'll see what those changes look like. It's tough to win in Itabena when that crowd is going and the team's playing well. I got Valley winning this game.
I don't think it's going to be as much of a crowd there, really. I ain't sold on Valley.
5,000, 5K?
I ain't sold on Valley yet. So, to me, I ain't going to say they're the Valley of old, but the more you lose games, the more you trend back towards old habits and, old comings and goings, things of that nature. And I just think it's time for Texas Southern to kind of turn the corner and get their ship upright. Yeah, so I'm going with the experienced coach, and I just think Texas Southern squeaked this one out.
If Valley upsets, if I can say it that way, over Texas Southern, will Dishman's seat become a little bit warm?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I mean, there's new athletic director and AD there. I don't see it right now. I think after this year, if things continue to go south, I could see something getting a little warmer, but I don't see it this year, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. Alcorn State at Arkansas Pine Bluff in Memphis. Interesting ball game. Wheeler, who do you like in this one?
I think it's time for Alcorn to get back on track. Yeah, and I guess some people, Charles, would say it's about time or what have you, but it probably is about time. And I think they get back on track on this one. Pine Bluff, I don't think it's a formidable opponent, and I don't see any reason why Alcorn shouldn't get back on top.
Interesting. Pine Bluff gets in the win column. Our Alcorn is really in a tough position. A loss here, and I think it could be very bad. It could be very bad the rest of the season. But one loss in conference play, at this point, it won't damn them.
But when you're 0-4, Carlos,
yeah, it could. That's what I say. It could put them in a dangerous place. Then the next week they got Prairie View, right? Homecoming
after that, and then we go to Tallahassee for their homecoming.
Mm-hmm. Don't get easier. Don't get easier.
It sure doesn't.
I'm gonna go on the spirit of Dean Bond's color analyst. It has to be. It has to be a must-win for Alcorn State, but however, I think the trend continues. They'll get a little bit better, but at the end, I think they fall short, and UAPB squeaks it out. I'm going with, quote-unquote, the home team, UAPB.
This is a big game for Braves football in more ways than one. This is Cedric Thomas's second year coming off a 6-6 season. When the schedule came out, you kind of identified a couple of wins early on in the season. Northwestern State didn't happen. And UAPB, we'll see at 6 o'clock. We haven't played a home game yet. Fans are restless. Fans are anxious. Fans are disappointed. Fans are canceling homecoming reservations. Fans are kind of on the edge of their seat.
No, not homecoming. Come on.
Yes. I'm just telling you what I've been told. I had a friend tell me, and he usually buys an alligator and throws it on the grill for homecoming. He said he's holding up on that alligator until he sees what happens today. I'm telling you what he told me.
Hey, wait a minute, Charles. I thought only in Louisiana they eat alligators on the put them on the grill. Oh my goodness. Go ahead, continue.
It's a friend of mine that drives to Baton Rouge and buys an alligator and throws it on.
See?
Yeah. But he told me last night, I'm holding up on that alligator order until I see what's going to happen today.
Oh, wow.
So this is how our fans are. It's been a tough start, but I think if we get this one, some folks will come back towards the middle. And we rushed for 300 yards last year. We got a quarterback we're going to be dealing with in Peters, who's really, really good. They've got a dynamic running back. If we can win this game in front of a lot of purple and gold that's going to be here today, I think fans will feel a little bit better as we get ready for Prairie View. But if we don't, it's tough. We got Prairie View at home next week in our home opener. We got Lincoln homecoming, and then we go to Tallahassee. You just can't afford to get off to a rough start with one of two teams that have not won a game this year, along with Mississippi Valley. We need this one in the worst way. And so I think if we come out, our defense makes a statement. We don't have one sack this season defensively. We got to get after the quarterback. We can run the football, Carlos. We can run the football. We got to continue to run the football and get Jalen Tolbert, our quarterback, comfortable. So I think the Braves are going to win this game. I think our offense is going to get on track, and I think our defense will be tenacious.
Probably the comment of the day in the chat room. Karen Griffin said an alligator. I've tried it, but people in Louisiana, nothing is off the table. I'll put it that way. They make a roux out of it, no matter what the meat is. Karen says an alligator. Not one of my favorite meats. Trust me on that one. Jackson State at Southern. You guys have made your predictions about Southern Jackson State. Remember I said my heart is always going to go with Southern University. My head on this one, I look at the numbers. I look at the performances so far by Jackson State. They are the better team on paper. However, my heart is always with Southern University. This is a game that could really make the season in a way. They could turn it around. 1-4 after 5 games, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I really didn't. Huge crowd, ESPN Plus. But I will have to go with the moment I'm feeling right now, I have to go with my head. I think Jackson State will take the game today, but I think it will be an interesting battle. And with that being said, as always, I hope I am dead wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong. You hear me? Dead wrong. Because the Jackson State game means a whole lot. A bad week. You mean to the pets after the game. Of the week. The significant other. You're just in a grumpy mood. But she rules. So this is a game that my heart desperately wants. But my head tells me Jackson State's the favorite, and they'll come out on top. Willie, that's why people should love me. I don't have the blue and gold glasses on. I don't have the purple and gold glasses on. I go with that inward feeling. And that's the mind, not the heart. So I hope I'm wrong. Last one, Grambling State and Prairie View State Farm Classic. Another interesting game. Now, I want to pull for Grambling, so that'll knock Prairie View in the loss column. I've seen both teams. To me, they're equal, per se. They got strengths and weaknesses. So who do I go with? Who do I go with less than 2 minutes in this show? I think Prairie View ekes it out against Grambling State University, but I truly hope I'm wrong. Charles?
Well, with Prairie View, too. And despite all the talk Tremaine Jackson said at the beginning of the season, he's kind of backed it up. Beat Texas. That's the only conference game played so far. That win over Texas Southern. Beat Northwestern State. I know some people say that doesn't mean much. Rio Grande Valley, they played well in the second half. And even Rice, I thought they hung in there. If they beat Grambling today and then they come to Lorman and win, then they got Southern in a couple weeks after that, Prairie View could be the team we're talking about in the Western Division. So I got Prairie View in this game. Grambling's my alma mater, but I need to see a little bit more from Mickey Joseph's team.
It's a battle of the close teams.
I ain't sold on either one yet. I really ain't buying stock on either one yet. Yeah, but if you twist my arm and I got to choose one, I'm going to go with Prairie View today. Yeah, out of the two squads, like I said, I'm not sold on either one, but I'm really not sold on Grambling yet. Even with the record, people say the record is who you is or whatever. And, but I'm not sold on Joseph and the direction of the program. I'm willing to give Jackson more the benefit of the doubt, and I think they'll come through today.
Man, They're saying, hurry up, let's go. I'm in charge. We'll go when I say we're going. Oh, boy, I know what I'm facing, the traffic and what have you. But it should be an interesting week. Next week, we will talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Will Southern break Jackson State's 6-game winning streak? We shall see. Grambling and Prairie View wins. They're 2-0 in conference and 2-0 in the West. Will Alcorn State win their first game of the season? And will Alabama State go on the road again? They have one under their belt at Southern. Can they do it at FAMU? Want to thank everybody in the chat room. I'm out of here. I've got to get somewhere very quickly.
Good luck.
Until next
Jags,
Saturday
go
at
Jags.
11 a.m. for the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until that time, peace and God bless, and go Jags.